Askreddit Asks, males who got sexually harassed, what's your story?
I was at a bar that was my regular watering hole. And I was bent over the counter talking to the bartender. It was loud as fuck and we needed to hear each other. I have hair halfway down my back. And was bent over with my shoulders rounded and half hidden under my hair. Some fucknut decided to grope me. Thinking I was a woman. He grabbed my ass and rammed his fingers into my taint. Right where one would expect to find a vagina. He didn't. I was not amused, but he nearly shat himself when the woman he groped turned around and was a 6 feet 3 inches very angry man. I let the bouncer know. And he kept an eye on him and ended up throwing him out later.
Ended up throwing him out later. He didn't throw him out for that? Question mark.
I was at a party and, later in the evening, the hostess and her friend pulled me to the floor and tried to unzip my pants to measure my penis. One of them had a ruler. It was actually a struggle to break away from them. They thought it was funny. I did not. Edit. This was back in the late 80s. A different time. I never gave a thought of being sexually harassed or assaulted, but I did feel kind of humiliated and uncomfortable after. They were part of my circle of friends. I was pretty young and they were a bit older. It was a struggle to break away without hurting them. I was concerned about being seen as the aggressor. Both of their husbands were there, but I don't think they knew this went down. There were a lot of people around, but it was kind of dark in the house by this time. It's been over 30 years and I haven't seen them in a long time, but I still remember their names.
I was like 5, 6 years old and some relatives had visited US. With those relatives was one of my aunts that was like 40 years old. Long story short, she asked me if my dick has grown and I didn't say anything, so she put her hand in my pants and touched it. I don't remember my reaction then, but I remember everyone laughing for some reason. I wasn't expecting this to get so many comments because that's my first commental, so this isn't a big deal, at least for me, and I don't feel like a victim, but I know that's sexual harassment and my siblings freaked out when I told them. Also, she was a step aunt, not an aunt. Sorry for my English. Also, I am a Greek, not an Asian.
Tired and stranded at Denver Airport as an 18-year-old trying to fly home from college. The airport was nearly completely empty and it was in the middle of the night. I was exhausted and fell asleep on a bench only to wake up to an airport janitor with his hand in my pants. I immediately sat up and pushed him away. He was smiling and saying something in an Eastern European accent. I left the area and went to the other side of the terminal. But I was so tired I fell asleep again and again woke up to this same creep groping me. This was in the 1980s, before ubiquitous cameras, and there were no cops around. Not that I would have been able to tell. I was embarrassed and traumatized. I can still see his creepy smile and I was so angry and afraid.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Question mark. I'm so sorry, man. Had a girl in social study rub her chest in my face while I was sitting up against a wall and couldn't move away. I tried to push her off me, which of course made her laughing friends tell the teacher I grouped her. I hate that girl. And no one's figured out why, even though there was a classroom full of people who saw it. Edit. I'm not saying no one figured out that she was assaulting me. Everyone just seemed to forget about it. As if this wasn't a big deal.
Girls can be perverts as well. My freshman year in high school, a girl asked for my help in algebra. She grabbed my hand and put it on her pussy for me to play with. I wasn't harassed, but it did catch me the fuck off guard.
When I was younger, a number of my male classmates started dry humping me for fun. I was a very small kid, so I really couldn't do anything to push them back. After every turn, each of them would stand up and show their bulging erections. I'm a straight guy, by the way, and that experience still haunts me to this day.
This sounds like a boarding school horror story.
They did that to a kid in high school on an away game bus. He was smaller, ginger, and an asshole. I forget what sport it was. I just remember feeling like it was really fucked, even though the kid was a fucking shithead too.
The girl from my uni course got her significantly larger friend to come up to me in a club and physically force us together. I tried saying no and that I didn't want to numerous times, but she ended up kissing me and biting me. I managed to push her off and get out of there, but I really struggle to be around her now. No one else treats it very seriously either.
Have you considered speaking to the university about it? Like, even if you go through the counseling or something. They should. This is premeditated assault. Sorry this happened to you. A messed up kid in my school raped another guy and said that the guy he raped him. Poor kid got expelled for being a victim. This whole thing went down at a party and someone said so and so was having sex in the person's living room, so we went to say go get a room. We heard someone saying stop it and we rushed over to break it up. An investigation went down in the school district and the cops got involved. That's when the chief of RPD said at school to drop it because the victim's parents paid off the detective that was doing the investigation. The whole thing was wasted. And no charges were pressed. I edited this, by the way. The first 3 lines were original, but I added the rest because I was getting the same questions, so I thought I would clear things up.
Not even an investigation?
When I was in 6th grade, 2 kids trapped me in the bathroom and made me have oral sex with them. It's something that still messes with me to this day. I couldn't even do anything. They said they would kill me if I told anyone. Never got over that. I told my parents and my dad thinks I'm lying for some reason. He's one of those people who think men can't be raped.
I just don't understand how someone's brain can be wired to do something as horrible and disgusting as that to another human, and to not believe someone who worked up the courage to tell someone and look for solace after having something like that happen to them. I'm sorry that all happened to you and hope you're doing as best as you can now.
The old lady cashiers at the grocery store used to kick the shopping baskets over to me and ask me to bend over and pick them up for them and stuff like that. Then they would say, ooh, when I didn't make comments and other nonsense. It was odd. I was 16/17, they were 40s, 50s.
What the hell? Worked behind a bar. One woman in particular, always inappropriate. Which grew louder the more she came in and the more she drank. Weirdly, it was in front of her husband and daughter, also drunk. She was 50 plus. Daughter was 16 to 18. Escalated to physical grabbing, groping and at one point yanking my tie and pulling me toward her. Luckily the bar taps were too tall and the bar was too wide for her to get close enough to do anything. Also groped in a supermarket once. Didn't even see who did it. I don't think I'm even attractive. That's awful. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that.
I used to work in a grocery store. One of the cashiers was openly into me. Whenever I had to go through her line, she would refuse to ring me up unless I'd agree to go on a date with her. Lots of customers and other staff laughing and egging her on. It's a weird type of powerlessness. Because of the switched genders and how everyone else was reacting. Confusingly humiliating. I was a manager at the time, and had to have a conversation with her manager about what was happening. It stopped soon after.
Yikes.
Worked at a gas station. Customer asked if we had protein shakes. I said yes. He asked where. I walked him over there and he stuck his hand down my pants. It was on video and he got a $500 fine for sexual assault. $500 is not nearly enough for sexual assault. Add 2 zeros on there and then it would be a fair fine.
The real question is, why is the government profiting off your sexual assault?
My half-sister attempted to rape me when I was 5 and she was 16. Told my parents about it and none of them gave a shit about it. I can literally not be in the same room as her. Whenever I see her, my brain instantly goes, just run, but my legs refuse to move.
I don't want to be rude, but your parents suck.
A girl in my school just went around grabbing guys' junk and she never got in any trouble.
It was not terribly serious but was uncomfortable. When I was 19, my boss, a woman in her 40s, was going through a pretty nasty divorce which had its roots in the fact that her husband had been having an affair with a much younger woman. On several occasions when she and I were the only people left in the office at the end of the day, she mentioned that she'd love to fuck some young college guy because it would help her get over the trauma of her husband's cheating. It seemed pretty apparent that she was asking me if I wanted to go bang. It never seemed like a terribly serious issue though, because that was never coupled with any kind of comments about my job security. My interpretation was that she literally just wanted to have some hot sex with a young stud and I was the only young guy she knew. I always just kind of ignored the comments or made jokes about it and then got out of the office as quick as I could. The more serious thing was that I once got passed out drunk at a party. There was a girl at the party who had a crush on me, but I was in no way interested in her. I woke up in the middle of the night to her giving me a handjob.
Did you report that last girl?
Was at an outdoor concert when a middle-aged woman backed up into me and started dancing and rubbing her ass on my crotch. I backed up, and she backed up into me over and over before I told her to stop. I turned to my friend and started talking to him when she basically put me in a headlock and started trying to make out with me. I struggled to get free while my friends laughed and took pictures, videos. Those pictures and videos then got sent around our friend group and I got made fun of for making out with an old fat woman. Edit. To those saying I should ditch those friends. Some I did. Some apologized. I'm not one to hold grudges for the most part.
I have pretty long hair, and this one time I was at a concert and someone smacked my ass from behind. I turned around and the guy saw my beard and turned red in face. Sorry. I thought you were a girl. How in the fuck would me being a girl make this okay? Reminds me of the video of that dude who has a really feminine looking butt and would go to public places and hide his face but showed his long hair and ass. Then when he would catch someone looking, he would get up in their face about it.
Please link that video. I need to see it.
I had a co-worker always joke about wanting to give BJs in the back room. While one day in the back room she tried. Worst part, she is married with 2 kids. Tell the husband.
She sucks. He is the husband. Had to go on a one-night Boy Scout camping trip when I was about 12. None of my friends were able to come, so I didn't have a tent mate, so they stuck me with this older guy. He was around 19 years old, but he was slow, so they let him stay in the Scouts and I didn't really know him. About an hour after lights out, I wake up to him spooning me with an erection and wandering hands. I kinda just froze hoping he would stop, but after a minute or so I pushed him away and bolted out of the tent. I ended up just pacing around outside the tent for hours till the sun came up. I really wished it hadn't been my first sexual experience. I left the Boy Scouts a few months later.
There was this awful kid in high school, but my friend and I didn't know how bad he was at the time. My friend, his girlfriend and I were hanging out after school and the kid asked if he could hang with us too, so we said, why not? Quote, we played were over at my friend's house and I laid down on the couch while my friend was in the bathroom. I closed my eyes, not sleeping, just chilling. This kid took out his dick and thumped it on my forehead. My friend's girl and I yelled at him. Never hung out with him again. It came out later that he had raped a girl the summer before this happened as well.
What the hell was he expecting? What outcome was he hoping for? WTF.
I am a guy with long hair. I can't count how many times I have had other guys stick their hands down the back of my jeans to cop a feel. Edit. I have had him reach inside my pants as well as squeeze my crack from the outside. It's odd how many guys this happens to in this thread. Fucking creeps, man.
15/16 of a year old. Was in my first serious relationship. She was emotionally unstable, manipulative, won't go into details, but we had an argument and I left her in my bedroom. When I came back, she had used my razor to cut her wrists and wipe blood on my bed, saying if I didn't fuck her right then and there then I didn't love her and she had no reason to live anymore. She's healthy and happy now. And I have forgiven her for everything. We were young and she was sick. But unfortunately forgiveness doesn't cure wounds. And it's ruined my sex drive. To the point where it's completely non-existent almost. Which causes issues. Namely, I want to have a normal healthy sex drive for a 22 years old man. desperately, but can't seem to get excited anymore. Makes me feel inadequate as a male. So I lift weights instead. It's all a healing process.
Bartending.
It happens.
All sorts of stories,
But it comes with the territory, to an extent. I put a stop to it pretty quickly when it crosses a line and bring in security if it doesn't stop and have the offender escorted out of the bar. Worst instance was at a private event where both of the hosts cornered me in the basement laundry room and tried to take off my clothes. They were grabbing my crotch the whole time and trying to pull out my junk.
So,
knowing they were both pretty drunk and I can decisively overpower either of them, I de-escalated the situation and defended myself. One of the hosts ended up in the laundry tub. His fat ass was stuck in there after I tossed him, and the other I locked into a storage room and barricaded the door with a tool car and shelving. I didn't get paid, but they also didn't have a bartender for the last 3 hours of their party.
2 situations. 1. I was 16 yo and working at my second job ever, pizza place, and the manager was 19 yo. She made it clear that if I ever wanted to do anything other than wash pans and dishes that I needed to service her. 2. I worked at Walmart back in 1991 and there was a much older, 40-plus, woman, I was 20 yo, that would always find ways to rub against me and hint at wanting to give me experience. I had forgotten about both experiences until the #MeToo thing hit on Twitter and women said men had no idea what it was like to be sexually intimidated in the workplace. I worked in a supermarket and as a gay man, a couple of the other gay guys that worked there thought it was fair game to grope and grab as much as they liked. Not the biggest issue ever, but I didn't appreciate it.
I think attitudes are changing now. But there was a time when a very small, I guess, minority of gay men thought it was totally okay to grab women's tits, pussy, ass etc. with near impunity. I'm talking in the last 5 to 6 years. I had some horrible experiences in my teens and 20s with that shit and felt like I had no right to be upset.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to support the channel, and above all, have an excellent day you wonderful people.